19 budget hearing. I need an approval of the agenda.
So moved. So moved.
Okay. It's been moved by Board Member Oborny. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Bickle. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes 5-0. All right, under new business, we have the fiscal year 19 notice. Do we have two motions here, or do we have just the?
If you just open the hearing for public comment, and
Okay.
then you can close it, and then we
Okay.
can move on to the next.
All righty, we'll go ahead and open up the hearing for public comment on the budget. Does anybody have any comments? Anybody in our vast audience? All right. I will go ahead and close the budget hearing then. All right. Here comes Paul. All right, and then we'll move on. Do you need an approval of that at this point, or at this point?
Yes, we'll need
All
approval.
right, so I need a motion to approve the fiscal year 19 budget as presented.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Board Member Oborny, second by Board Member Bickle. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes 6-0. The next item is the fiscal year 19 budget review. Tracy? Do you have anything you want to present in addition?
I don't, the only thing I was going to reiterate, is that the mill levy for USD 489 is going down 0.767 mils, and that our local revenues are going down over 1.3 million. So I just wanted to point those items out again. If there's any questions or comments from any board members.
Okay. Well, it looks like that was one motion, right? So you don't need a second one.
I do not know.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else on the budget then for Tracy? Questions, comments?
Nope, I want to thank Tracy, though, for answering a slew of questions I had by email, but she did a great job, so answered all my questions there.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting then. Meeting adjourned. We'll go ahead and call to order the USD 489 Board of Education for Monday, August 20th, 2018. And I need approval of this agenda, please.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay. It's been moved by Board Member Bickle to approve the agenda as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Adams. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes 6-0. Go ahead and have the one-time opportunity for audience participation at this point. Nope. All right, moving on. Communications from other organizations. We have the Plasma Welder Grant.
Very pleased to have John Lynn and also Nathan Howard here to end up describing something that was very good for the high school that happened recently.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. I'm John Lynn. I'm the assistant principal at the high school. And I want to thank you for allowing us to speak this evening. There was a point during the month of July, towards the end of July, that Mr. Howard sent me information regarding a Perkins Reserve grant opportunity through KSD and the CTE program. The grant was for a CNC plasma cutting system that was around $26,000. CNC stands for Computer Numerical Control. It basically is a machine that utilizes computer programming to take a piece of material and arrive at somewhat of a finished product. CNC machines have been on our CTE plan of improvement for several years. Mr. Howard completed the application. I added a little data to the application, and it was sent in. And in a matter of about a week, we were informed that Hayes High School was selected to receive this grant. I was more than happy with the news, and I was able to give Mr. Howard, as he called it, an early Christmas gift. And they also threw in about another $3,000 for training for Mr. Howard, which allows him to go to training and also be a trainer for a lot of instructors out in this part of the state. So it also, what this does, it allows our students to be competitive. It gives them a big advantage in the manufacturing world when they leave Hayes High School. So at this time, I want to say that in the short amount of time that I've known Mr. Howard, he has a great vision for his program. And I'm just really excited about working with him in the future. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Nathan Howard.
So as John said, we received a grant in July, just a little over $29,000. $3,000 will allow me to go to training in Houston next month. And then also, I'm going to be speaking at a conference in August and in February, showing how this is going to improve our program. Computer numerical controlled, or the automation of tools, has been a plan in the manufacturing, whether it be woods or metals, well, since the 3 years that I've been here. This is my beginning of the third year, and Mr. Dinkle and I have been really planning on this. This is industry. This is where it's heading. And with this grant, it allows us to be competitive. It is a standard in industry. If you go to Leon's Welding in town, they have a CNC plasma table that runs every day. They have a gentleman that stands there and runs it, programs it, and that's what he does. And we're going to allow our students to be competitive with Fort Hays, be able to go into Fort Hays knowing how to run it. They're going to be able to go into NCK knowing how to run it, or even go into the job force and be able to, you know, be an entry-level employee. Programming. We talk about programming with computers. This is working with G-code, how to move that plasma torch around. Industry programming. It also allows the metals program and the drafting program to work together. Now we can go through drafting. They draw the plans or draw the product. We can print it out on plastic to prototype it. We can go even another step further. Now we can cut it out, the final product, or the final pieces to be welded to make into the final product. So students are seeing the whole picture in industry. So it's a very exciting thing to have. I look forward to it. It has already been ordered and hopefully will be here this Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought that that's wonderful, but I had heard October 1st, or is that with the training then as well?
October 1st, I have to have it up and running by October 1st. My training is in September. I'll be gone from the evening of the 17th and back to the 20th to Houston,
Okay.
which is
So the 21st, you could have it running then.
I'm hoping once we get it in through the doors. Unfortunately, we're going to have to get a little creative on getting it through the doors. We just have a double door, which is about 6 foot, and it's a 4x4 table, but the table is actually wider than 6 foot, so we're going to have to do a little engineering to get it through the door. So.
You brought up an issue I want to just speak on, because you and Chris last year met with me telling me that those doors are going to become a problem and we need to make them wider. So it's kind of funny that at this point you're telling me that time has come. So
Yeah. It'd be great to have a garage door
Right.
into the metal shop. Right now, students are limited on size of project that they can make. We have to be able to get it through the door. And if we can't get it through the door, we build parts inside, and then the rest of the time we're outside welding in the elements, which they're going to anyways in industry. But there's certain aspects that it'd be great to get things in and out.
We have a question for you.
Sure.
I'm looking at the diagram or the table here. Can you give me some examples of some of the items that would be welded on this?
It won't be welded, it'll be cut.
Oh,
So,
that's a cutter.
yes, it's not a welder, it's actually a plasma cutter.
Obviously, I'm so naive, I don't even know what that
Hey, that's all right. The plasma torch, we can cut about anything in a 2D aspect.
is. Okay.
So if you take a sheet of metal, lay it down, then we can cut pieces out. I mean, we already got an idea of cutting a big Indian head to go out in the commons area out by the library. So it can cut up steel up to 3/4 of an inch thick. Table is 4 by 4, so yeah, it's a little bit smaller, but we can still get a lot of good things out of it.
So you get this, and I can see how this will really enhance the CTE program. What are some other acquisitions to upgrade the whole program that you're looking to the future towards?
Future-wise, I've been expanding the machining aspect. I'd love to get a CNC mill, which is a vertical mill where they can cut out of either aluminum, steel, any metals. We would like to get a CNC router into the wood shop, which would be very similar to that plasma table. You can take a sheet of plywood, lay it down, and we could actually cut out cabinets. Just program it in, lay it down, and it'll cut out the cabinets for us. And then the kids just got to assemble them. Those are a couple things that are on our wish list and on our improvement plan that we'd like to.
Okay, thanks. So, just another question with this. So you're going to have kids are going to be able to do this, and hopefully there'll be other grants or ways we can find funding to help you envision what you need to for the CTE path, which would be great. Is there a way then that, and I've seen this with some other schools where they have schools that have these, that they work with some of their students to form small businesses to create signs and things like that. Is that envisioned in any way?
I have thought about it as doing kind of a little bit of fundraising for possibly in the metals program to help that program run a little bit smoother. Thought about talking with, the different sports, maybe cutting out some yard signs or cutting out, projects for people that they need to be cut out.
Great.
Thank you both for your work on this. I mean, it's phenomenal that we have a grant that, more than what we even hoped for, and the training and everything else. And the thing that comes to mind for me so much is it kind of ties into some of those goal type things that we've been looking at where we really want to be. We want to have the tools and the programs and everything in place with the training and everything else to provide the best for the students. And, you guys worked within the means we had to, and you went outside the box. And I think grants and everything else has been another one of our goals for 2 or 3 years now too. And I just appreciate all the time and effort you guys put on this. And, the benefits for our district and for our kids is phenomenal. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to just say that the opportunity of being opportunistic and really trying to, because I think John, when I had talked to him, understood there was there just going to be 2 that was given out in the state, and okay, we'll do it, we'll fill out the paperwork, and the chance of getting it, you just think, well, but if you don't fill it out, you have no chance. So I really commend them to take the chance, sure paid off this time. Thank you very much for that.
I mean, the chance of, actually when I was looking at my email, the tractor overheated and I just stopped in the field, letting it cool down, checked my email, saw this, started communicating right away, and I'm glad we got it. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you both.
All right. Also, under communications from other organizations, we have the Hayes Recreation Commission July agenda and minutes. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that? Okay. Next is a report of the superintendent.
I only had 2 items I want to bring to your attention as a report. We still are looking for some jobs that are tied to this school. We have some cook, nutrition services positions, probably about 3 or 4 that we could still try to hire. We end up having as well, notice today that our kind of our finishing touches for the entryways, which ends up being that part of the audio as well as the visual, linked to the doorbells at the front entrances of all the schools. The hardware for that came in today, which was very so strange as far as some things you wait forever for them to come in, and we just ordered this last week, end of last week, and it's here. And so we'll be looking this week of starting the process. I can't say we'll be done this week, but we will start putting those in, and so it'll be in place actually a little sooner than I thought, of having the finishing touches for the front entries on for all of the schools at this particular time. So that was good news this morning, finding that out.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is a consent agenda, which includes the board retreat minutes from August 8th, 2018, the board meeting minutes from August 6th, 2018, the approval of bills in the amount of $874,920.43, personnel transactions, and the approval of surplus items.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
It's been moved by Board Member Adams,
Second.
second by Board Member Bickle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes 6-0. Next on the list is old business. First item is board president appointments. And Sarah and I reviewed those earlier back and forth over the email today, and I think we have everything filled. She has that all updated. There was a few that fell off the list that we aren't required to have for anymore. And so does anybody have any questions or concerns about those? I assume we need to approve those?
Make a motion.
Do you need a motion? No? Yes?
Like so.
Yes? No?
You
I'm
just
getting
approve
yes
it.
and no. No.
Your appointments.
Okay, all right. I have to have John tell me yes and Bill tell me no, just making sure. All right, moving on, negotiations. Looks like we have some negotiations between the board and SEIU that we need to approve.
At this particular time, it was good news that the process of working with SEIU came up with an agreement as far as what was being offered on both sides, and they are definitely in agreement at this point. So we had put this, or Tracy had put this together as far as the agreement, and I guess at this point there'd be, if there was any questions on it, it was sent out. Hopefully there was questions to be answered at an earlier time, but if you have questions now, that's fine as well. It'd be a matter of approval or voting on this evening upon answers being given to any of the questions.
Do I have a motion to open it up for discussion?
I'll move to open up discussion on
Do you have a motion?
I'll make
Yeah,
a motion to
moving to
approve the
discuss.
negotiations.
All right. Board Member Bickle has moved to approve the negotiations. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Adams. All those in favor? Oh, we'll open it up for discussion now. Sorry, didn't want to vote right away. Does anybody have questions?
John, will this affect anything as far as, because I know we haven't completed the other side of negotiations yet.
No, it is separate.
Okay.
So that's why it's here as far as going ahead and moving ahead with it. It's,
I did just want clarification one part. It was on page 14, our insurance benefits was identified that way. And just I wasn't quite following the month following completion of the 2018-19 negotiations. It was, what's that mean? Have the difference costing the current paid insurance? And other, what's that mean in terms of financial impact? Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, we had, at some point in time in negotiations, I believe it was 2007, there were, at that point in time, anybody that was, those people were grandfathered in, that we paid their full family insurance. So we're going back to changing it so that it's the same as all other personnel. We will add that wage, that amount to their wage, so that they're not taking a cut in salary in any sort of way or benefits. But that way, we're only paying for the single for those folks as well. So it'll be consistent across the district. It was just changing what was negotiated back in 2007 to make it consistent with everybody else now.
Okay, thanks, that clarifies it for me.
Yes, there will be no cost difference for the district.
Okay, that's trying to understand.
Without just assuming, I wanted to ask, what we're looking at is just the parts that changed from last year?
Correct.
Okay. And then another question was severance pay, page 18. Was this just to make it consistent with what was done a couple of years ago?
Correct, right. Well, we changed it with the certified staff and the classified staff where we capped their sick leave payout. They're still accumulating sick leave to use in the event they need it, but this is just capping the amount that's paid, and that was never negotiated in with SEIU, and so we're changing that also so that it will be consistent.
All right, so this is the same for any employee across?
Yes, it
the
will be,
district?
yes.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Is there any other questions? All right, I'll go ahead and ask for the vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes 6-0. Next on our agenda is the summer projects update.
I'm going to end up sharing that. Rusty and I did meet, and he did end up sharing information. He was very pleased with what John Conger was able to accomplish this summer with lighting at Roosevelt, because Roosevelt's lighting has been changed over. The big project of changing things, we really thought at the beginning of the summer he'd get a good portion of it, would still be working into this school year of trying to get it complete at Roosevelt, but he's finished, except for I think one room, he said. So really excited to have that finished. There was still some lighting, a little bit at high school that he worked on. The HVAC at the high school was completed. The portion that was going to be is completed. The water line, we're able to get that finished too. It was very tight on the timeline before school started, really, but it was nice that that was finished. You may have been out there to see the new big chunk of concrete out there in the parking lot, which looks nice that there's a nice, again, we're taking pieces of it, which is great to finally get another chunk of it. We had some floors that was changed over at the high school, some carpeting at Roosevelt and O'Laughlin, door that was carved into one of the walls at Roosevelt to change use of some of the space there. We did tuck pointing just today. I don't know if you went walking up, saw some of the scaffolding that was still there on this wall, but we've been just having such a hard time with the amount of water coming in here by that pillar and down at the base whenever we have any of these rains, and lately Hayes is becoming a tropical area, so we end up have had a lot of water that's come in here, and we're with great hopes that the work that they're doing is will make a noticeable difference. We'll find out. I'm pretty sure we'll get rain before the end of the week, and we'll see if it's making some difference there. We did also get some of the external locks in the buildings done as well. I do believe that just about everything that was planned was completed. So we were very pleased with the jobs that were done, and there are still, I mean, it's not just summer work. It's a matter, we have several others that's going to be ongoing going into this year that we'll still try to make improvements with our facilities, that part of it. But those are the projects that were completed just this last summer. Any questions about any of those that you had heard, perhaps?
Do you have any updates on I know we we had to vote fairly quick on the Wilson project, and it didn't look like they've started or done anything.
They
on
haven't
that.
started yet. I do know that we were able to arrange some of the budgeting within our capital outlay with what Rusty's working with to then be able to put the soft, the rubberized
Oh, okay.
drop, because that wasn't part of it. That wasn't included, whereas at Lincoln, when we ended up getting that grant of $100,000, that was all included. So I think we have that answered at this point of being able to do it. I did not get a timeline though, Lance, when it's coming in. But it's going to be, the turnaround when it does come in, I don't think will take long at all. But I just had not heard what that date unless no one else.
Just curious, I just hadn't seen anything started, so.
Yeah. But I really do believe it should be in just the next couple weeks that we have it.
Any questions for John? All right. Move on to new business. First on the list is crisis drill requirements.
You may have heard this. I thought it was important enough to bring up for everybody here to know that the crisis drill, what's up on the screen, which you can end up reading as well, is legislators were trying to make something happen. And in the end, it wasn't the legislators. It ended up being the state fire marshal that really made appropriations, and they ended up putting it in place of making a change there. The change is for, as you read that, it's for all private and public schools. It does break down except for community colleges, universities. It says 16 emergency preparedness drills. Now, some people may go, my goodness, 16. I'm trying to make this very clear to you that that number in itself sounds like a tremendous amount, but please understand, in the past we've had 9 fire drills, okay? We've had 3 tornado drills, and then we were trying to do 2 crisis drills a year. That's what we were working on, which adds up not too far away from 16. The issue is not a matter of the number, in my opinion. The issue is a matter of how they change things. We went from 9 fire drills to 4. So we have to have 4 fire drills, and we can have more if we want, but you have to have 4. You have to have the 3 tornado drills, that stayed the same, and then you end up having to have those 9 preparedness drills. Now, when you say preparedness, that does not mean that each one of them is going to be an active shooter drill, you know, something that's really a major hard lockdown drill. It doesn't have to be. They need to be of a variety, and that's what we're working on right now, is to identify a variety. We've had a crisis or preparedness meeting a couple weeks ago, and in that meeting had decided that I think everybody was in agreement that it would work well, that the private schools and the public schools are all going to try to work from a similar month theme, meaning that we would be working, not the same day by any means, but the same month, of a particular kind of drill. A drill such as the scenario would be, okay, this month you're going to have a drill that there is a person who the police are looking for, could be dangerous, is in the area. And what would you do? What would the drill be in that particular case? Another month could end up being, we ended up having a semi pulling ammonia gas, and it turned over and it's leaking, and it's close to the school. And how would you end up having a drill for that? So we're trying to end up coming up with a variety of scenarios so that we can help one another and have those discussions and really work together in coming up with what are the best procedures in making this the safest drills that we possibly can as we go through it. We did have, just so you know, the high school had already, before we did this, they had been making arrangements with the rec center to have a particular drill. I think it was today. You know, so they already had something planned. and there was no need to change that. So they went ahead with the drill that they had been planning for. And that was one of those major ones. They were planning rec center because they end up going across the street over to there. And so that doesn't change the whole plan. That's just something that was already planned ahead of time. So I guess if you have any questions, I just wanted to bring that up so you're aware that the times have changed. Actually, another one that we talked about is, we don't hear much about it anymore, but probably should in that whole scheme of things have a bomb threat drill. You know, there was a time where, you know, that was on our minds, so it's probably one that merits, one of those 9 would be a bomb threat drill as well. So that's what we're trying to do at this point and have that in place in the next week so everybody can work from that.
One question do you have, John? I noticed that it stipulates that only 5 minutes of warning
Yeah.
being sent out.
Yeah.
How does, it's just, I didn't look it up or couldn't remember. We had spent time talking about notification and all that. Are we?
We have to change some of our policy. We know that. There's things in it that are going to be changed, and it's not going to be brought to you to approve because it doesn't need to be. It's mandated, so, but we do need to make the changes in there so it corresponds to this. And just so everybody knows, that does create a little bit of a challenge there, because I understand what they're saying, but that 5-minute piece is an item that's really kind of, some of our drills can be, maybe for middle school, high school, not so much, but for elementary could probably be a little bit, could be a little scary. And to throw out that notice, it's important for the public to know, the parents to know, we're not trying to do anything. I think we'd rather send it out a little earlier ourselves so that families would know that, public would. But we're following what across the state. We have 5 minutes. 5 minutes prior to the drill is when we'll send something out and say, it's just a drill, this is what we're working on, and that's the intention when we have this. Hopefully it'll spread fast enough that there will not be that fear that's out there that will spread on the media saying that something bad's happening at one of the schools at this time. That's why we want to have that notice, even if it's just a few minutes ahead of time.
When you do make policy, bring it back for us. Though
Certainly.
we can't act on it, it'd be good to be sure we get it in the public record.
Sure.
Does that include teachers, or do teachers get to know more than 5 minutes ahead of time?
I'm sorry?
Do teachers get to know more than 5 minutes ahead of time?
Actually, there are teachers that do, but I'd say in some of the buildings, they still end up trying to arrange it that some of the drills probably will not. And the intent there is to truly have that kind of a training of the best, what would it be like if it really was a true happening? So, but I would say most of the time, there's the talk ahead of time, the faculty meetings trying to prep for it, especially this year when you're going from 2 a year to 9 and the variety that we're going to have, there's going to have to be the prep that goes into it as well. And so I would say most of the time they're going to have a pretty good knowledge of that. A good example would be this. Do they always know when they're having fire drills? No. But I would wager if you go back in time when they were first implemented, we're going to happen at that time. So.
Well, I would just add, the importance of the preparedness drills is to reflect afterwards what went well, what didn't. So we are adding this as an agenda to our monthly admin meeting so we can learn from one another what went well in one building, what didn't. So it's not so much, the drill and that it's happening, but afterwards reflecting and looking at our procedures and practices. So that will be a part of it as well.
5 minutes.
Okay.
So we'll get our money out of that emergency response system.
Yeah.
Okay. Next item is goal setting.
I commend the board for being able to identify 7 goals this last meeting. And of the 7, what's highlighted in bold, except for the first one. The first one is really a carryover dealing with the financial part, but the others all was a matter of my own thoughts and Sarah's thoughts of trying to take those things below, those different ideas that came up from board members, and create a particular statement that may combine all of them. Full well knowing that some of the pieces need to be probably objectives underneath those goals. But what I was hoping you could do tonight is to go from the 7, and we could end up voting on that to get it down to 3 or 4, 5 at the most. I would even suggest 3 or 4 instead of 5. But if we could identify which ones we are most supportive of, then we would end up working on them to work on the wording, make sure that they are wordsmithed just the way we want, start working on objectives at that point. But tonight's job was not to do much more than identify an agreement of how many goals you want to really focus on these next 3 to 5 years. And as I said all along, 3, 4, 5, not more than 5, please. 3 is the minimum, I think. So I guess I'd be playing this. If anybody asked my suggestion, I'd say a 4 at this point. I thought 5 was just a little much as well, trying to really focus on it. But as you read through them, if you think that that it needs to be 5, and then after that's decided as far as the number, then it's a matter of wishing that you would rank these as we did at the last meeting. Do another ranking once again to try to identify what are the top 3, 4, or 5. And then we would definitely work. We would have the focus at that point to really work on this more and come back at the next meeting and really try to have these wordsmithed better, as well as having some objectives linked to them. So your thoughts at this point: 3, 4, 5? How many goals is really best to focus on?
Like 5 or less.
How many did we had 5 last time?
We had 5 last time.
Oh, there's what, 7 now you said?
We have 7 right now.
I would say we need to get it down to 5 or less, in my opinion.
I'd be down for 4. I was originally thinking 3 or 4 when we had our last meeting.
Yeah, I say we shoot for 4, and if we can't do it, then we'll end up with 5.
Okay, let's shoot for 4 and see how that goes. Then, in this particular case, I never did rank them as far as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but really for us to end up having some type of a ranking, it would be best if all 6 of the board members could please identify as they're listed. 1, of course, is the financial one. That's at the top. But if you went through that, how would you end up ranking them? 1 being the, how did we do it last time? 1 being no, 5 being, 5 was the best number. So you want to give 5 to the one you think is the most important, and then 4 to the next, 3 to the third, 2 to the next one, and then 1, and then a couple of them won't get any points at all. They just they drop off as your interest. So if you could do that, please, it would end up it'd help us as far as giving direction as we work through this. So I would say just a scrap paper next to you, just to identify, and then we'd go through. And the financial one,
Are you wanting us to rank the financial one?
yeah, well, I think it has to be. I mean, I am pretty sure it's going to be ranked in the top 3 or 4, so it's going to be in there. But yes, please use it and rank it as well.
You know, I guess my thoughts initially were to see if we could combine a couple, but maybe I'm off base
Well,
there.
let's consider that, Mike, after we do the vote here and just see how close they are. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Because the numbers may show that we're pretty solid with the top 4. There may be 4 that just come out way ahead of the others. And actually, I would even say there's 1 or 2 that could become objectives underneath
Right.
a couple of the others, or one of the others. If you could give me a hint when you think you're finished, that would help. I can't tell looking through there. There's 1, 2, 2 are finished, 3 are finished.
Sorry, I had to steal Lance's pen.
Four are finished. Okay, if I could have, we'll just do it my way, okay?
Well.
We'll do financial first. Luke, what number did you give financial?
3.
A 3 and a 3 and a 1 and
1.
a 1,
I didn't give it anything.
a 0.
But the reason being is I struggle with putting that as a goal because
That's fine.
to me that should be something that we're working on at all times.
That's
It
just-
shouldn't really be a goal.
I understand.
So
And Paul? And a 5. Kisa, Luke?
5.
5.
I gave it 0 because I figured others would vote for it.
Okay,
I gave it a 0, but I put it as a sub-goal under deliver high-quality education,
okay.
which was 4.
Yeah.
Lance?
I did the same thing, 0, but
Okay.
as a
And
sub
Paul?
goal.
4. Relations, Lance, or Luke?
That's the third one, right?
Yes.
4.
2.
Cultivate relationships,
Yes.
3.
A 3,
2.
2,
2.
And 1, because I think it's embedded in Keysa.
okay. Facilities,
1.
a 1,
4.
okay,
3.
okay.
3.
3. Resources, 0. Sophia? I didn't hear Sophia.
What number is it for that? 5.
That would be the 5th one down.
For staff?
Yeah, for resources for staff, as a 4, okay.
I give that a 5.
A 5,
I had as a sub-goal under my 1 for develop a stable financial structure.
so it'd be a 0,
Yeah.
okay.
So put on that as well?
A 0, okay.
Yeah, it's up to you.
And a 2. Leadership, Luke,
0.
okay,
I didn't have it.
0.
0.
I didn't hear,
0.
okay,
I mean, 0.
And then it's 4, but also somewhat of a sub-goal. It could be on some of the other
Could be.
ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's a-
Paul,
And 0, because I saw it as a sub-goal under 5.
okay. And then high-quality education, Luke,
2.
a 2, a 0,
0 because I ran out of numbers.
okay, a 4,
I do like 0.
0,
0, because I thought it under 2.
fit over there, okay. Okay, well, and your rationales is exactly what we need to work with. We identify, and then we end up can work with that and try to make them fit under others. Because if you remember, those of you that were part of it 2 years ago when we did this, we did the same thing. We had so many more actually, and we ended up trying to work them into objectives to fall under the other goals, trying to work that. So the numbers would be,
John, I have it figured if you want it.
sure,
Number 1 would be actually number 4 with 15. Number 2 would be number 3 with 14. Tied with number 2, which is also 2 for 14. The first one would be the third one for 13 points, and then
well, if you have them ranked, I'm sorry, financial was ranked what then? The fir-
financial was ranked 3rd.
What?
3rd,
Was 3rd, Keysa was ranked
2nd,
2, relations was
2nd for a tie,
tied, okay, facilities,
1, and then 4,
and what?
and then 4 for the 5th one.
Resources.
Was resources? Okay. All right. The odd part of this, which I didn't say at the beginning, maybe you end up knowing this, but the odd part of it is we rank the top, they were ranked in the order that you voted the last time. Okay? You may have noticed that, maybe not,
Yeah.
but it shows up that way again. You look at this. 1, 2, 3, and 4, especially at the ties for the 2s, would end up making the top 4 became the top 4 this time as well in your voting. So there's consistency that way. If that helps any of you, just to see if it's 4 or 5, it's still in the order that you had voted the last board meeting. So I guess my question at this point is, with the voting being, financial was 13, resources was 11, back to the question of, do you want us to work from 4 goals? Or do you want to include the resources? We had 3 people that marked 0 for resources with a rationale of placing that within another goal. If that be the case, we could still say just go with the 4 and not try to do 5.
What goal are you guys thinking of putting that under? Financial stability or something? No, that makes sense.
Well, I would say, you're asking others or you're asking me, I
No.
would say it's easy to look at even the first one.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking about to accomplish educational mission is going to have money or resources are going to be linked within it, trying to make sure that you accomplish the mission with that.
So you'd place it as an objective, basically?
It would become an objective. Yeah, we would make sure that it's it's not forgotten, it's part of it, it's just would be linked within.
I think I'd be content with that. We
Okay.
placed it as an objective and then just went with 4.
Right.
Doesn't have to be that way, but that'd be,
Okay?
I like it. Yeah.
And I think there's maybe another collapsing, trying to see, with the KISA, the relationships with families, educational organizations, and government agencies, I see that, reading through the KISA, it seems that that is a major element. If we're going to do a guide for improvement, I see that as being one of the objectives that comes out of the KISA.
It is. There's no doubt it is. The question is, do you want it to be part of that, or do you want it to stand on its own because you feel it's that important that it gets attention quite separate from all the others? Sometimes you have goals, which very much could be objectives, but because they're so important to you or the community or the school at this time, that's why it's identified by itself.
I was thinking the same thing Paul was.
Okay.
I think it'd be together.
Yeah.
So, I will tell you, I would probably think it's okay to leave them separate. And it's probably just because of the same reason that John was talking about. I mean, to me, that's such a strong priority, whether it's KISA mandated or not. I mean, I think all of us, have at some point in time expressed we need better relationships with the community, with the family, with other businesses, with other organizations, with the other schools. I mean, whether it's part of KISA or not, I think it's been a goal and a drive that we've been working on for several years. So it does carry a lot of weight for me.
And I'm fine either way, especially when it ties. It's kind of interesting that they both added up to the same number there, but
Quick question, John. Item number 5 was provide appropriate resources, benefits, and pay. Did that make it on our list, or is that one below? I mean, it didn't-
that would be the one that we would make into an objective with another. That would be the one, I think that's what we were talking about before.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were talking about facilities.
No, facilities was number 1.
Okay.
It had the most votes.
I lost track of all the numbers flying around. All right.
Well, I thought this one though did get the 5th vote, but we talked about making one
Okay.
4 is where the discussion was and combining.
It was to be an objective under
Yeah, okay, I
the
got you.
stable financial,
Now it's coming to me. Thanks.
Could be KISA too.
Could be KISA.
stable financial.
7 fell off, but 5 was KISA's everything, but that could get you an advantage.
But like number 6 can be, I think, an objective under 1, but I think it should be, or something like it should be
Under the financial part. Is that what you're talking about?
stability. Yeah,
Financial structure that allows the district to accomplish its educational mission.
I think so.
I could agree with that.
Well, if everybody is okay with it, we will work on this for the next board meeting. We'll end up trying to do some more wordsmithing and also change some of the wording on the others to add an objective or two underneath it so that there's not the feel that something was lost here. We're going to
Yep.
still grab it, but, okay.
Would it be possible for you to create different options of like, this is what one set of the goals could look like that you worked on, and then maybe another set of goals, then rearranged differently? If that makes sense. If you did put some under each other, what that would look like when you're talking, and then maybe another option of what it.
Oh, sure, with the other, okay, how they're going to be included within it?
Yeah.
Yeah, can sure do that. That would be a good way to look at it when it comes back then. Okay. All right. Thank
Anything
you.
else on goals? Okay. The next thing is, does anybody have any additional discussion or agenda request?
Quick on the crisis management stuff. Do you have a district level team that works with the schools to kind of decide, okay, which month we're gonna do fire drills or is it each school? Does each school decide when they're, can you explain how the process works?
Sure, it was more a matter of identifying the kind of drills and which month they would be done. Not so much focus on the fire or the tornado, but much more of the focus on the preparedness, the crisis drills, those 9. And then we end up having, we have a crisis or preparedness committee that meets 3 to 4 times a year. This year, we may, I don't know, definitely be 4, probably maybe even 5 this year with what's going on, that we meet that has representation of all the schools as well as Homeland Security, Fire Department, Police Department. They're all present in the conversation, and in that process of getting their feedback on how to do this, that's what we're trying to work through this year of making it. So we're learning, I guess, is that the whole process is trying to do our best and learning how to end up doing it as well as we can. And then we're having, as Shanna said, we're going to have it as a monthly meeting with our administrators to talk briefly on. I think you're going to have more conversations in faculty meetings for the buildings to try to prep for it. You're going to end up having, please understand that the private, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, we had 4 people from the private school at that last crisis meeting too. So that's a matter, and for individuals to understand this, it's the reason why is because a year or 2 ago, the decision was this whole plan isn't specific to public schools, it's schools in general. You know, it's private as well. They'd end up trying to create pretty much the same kind of plan. So that's why our plan is really a Hayes Schools plan, is what's in place there. And they were agreeable as well of saying we'd like to be part of the conversations so that on a monthly basis we're learning what each one of these drills would look like and how to do it best.
So I guess maybe a request could be somewhere towards the end of the academic year, you could have a representative from the task force or whatever come and kind of outline some of the things that were learned this year.
Oh, that would be excellent, yeah.
Okay.
That would be very good. I don't think we've ever had the crisis committee
Yeah.
come to the board meeting and share. That would be good. Okay.
Anything else? Okay, and I do believe we need executive session.
10 minutes?
10 minutes, all right. So I move that the Board of Education recess into executive session along with the board attorney.
Yes.
Tracy?
Tracy?
Shanna? Chris? No?
Yes.
Shanna?
And
So the assistant
Chris.
superintendent, the special education director, to discuss matters relating to the employer-employee negotiations, whether or not in consultation with a representative or representatives of the public body or agency according to KSA 75-4319B3, with the open session to resume in this room at 7:45.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All those opposed, nay? Motion passes.